Hello, and welcome back to the Cyber Resilience Brief, a Safe Breach podcast. I'm Tova Dvorin, and joining me as always is my co host today, Adrian Cully, who is not only one of our senior sales engineers here at Safe Breach and our main contact in the EU, but some would say is not just an offensive cybersecurity expert, but a cybersecurity expert who's a little bit offensive. Adrian, it's great to have you back.
That's a great description of me, Topher. Thank you. Always a pleasure. We've got a lot to unpack and cover today.
Yeah, we certainly do. Our topic today is a major one, a timely one, and one that hits at the very heart of critical infrastructure security. What is it? We're going to dive deep into the recent FBI alert, PSA 25820, and the threat accurate spotlight's Dragonfly. Adrian, for our listeners who may not be familiar with Dragonfly, can you give us a quick lowdown?
Absolutely. So, Dragonfly is a state-sponsored cyber espionage group, been around for over a decade. They're attributed with very high confidence to the Russian Federal Security Service, specifically Center 16 within the FSB. The group has a confusing number of aliases, things like Berserk Bear, Energetic Bear, and most recently Static Tundra. Their primary goal isn't financial, it's strategic cyber reconnaissance. They want to collect sensitive data on the operational networks of critical infrastructure, particularly in the energy and industrial control system sectors.
So, we would call these digital sleeper cells, although they really have to rethink the animal names.
Exactly. The US Department of Justice indictments against three FSB officers in 2022 highlight this perfectly. They were charged with operations to damage energy facilities, proving this is about pre-positioning for future sabotage, not just espionage.
Well, you can't help but respect a threat actor who does a little of advanced planning. Now, let's try to understand them a little further. Take a look at this FBI's recent alert, PSA 25820, which is what brings this topic back into focus. What's the key takeaway from this new intelligence?
So this alert is crucial because it confirms that Dragonfly is still highly active and using some surprisingly low-tech but effective tactics. The actors who Cisco Talos calls Static Tundra are exploiting well-known unpatched vulnerabilities in legacy networking devices. They're collecting configuration files and conducting reconnaissance inside victim networks. This reliance on known years old vulnerabilities shows a widespread weakness in critical infrastructure cybersecurity.
It's funny because you'd think with all the talk about APTs and 0 days, not to mention the fact that when you go to cybersecurity conferences, vulnerability management is so last decade. A group as sophisticated as this wouldn't even bother with something as basic as an unpatched vulnerability.
It's a key point, Tova. Why waste a 0 day when you can get in for free? As some friends of mine from both GCHQ and the NSA want to say quite rightly, people must understand that from a government security intelligence agency point of view, a 0 day can be representing cost millions of dollars, years of research. If you ever genuinely find a 0 day in your systems, you should be highly flattered because somebody somewhere really loves you. So this highlights a major issue. A robust intelligence-led defense needs to focus on the basics just as much as on the advanced stuff. If you can get in with a simple spear phishing email or an unpatched device, why go for a complex supply chain attack? Although it's worth noting that they do both, unfortunately. The FBI alert also explicitly mentions their use of the custom-built SinfulNOC malware. This is a really stealthy implant that modifies a router's firmware to create a persistent backdoor. This shows they're still using sophisticated custom tools for long-term persistence.
Yikes. It looks like they're looking at both the forest and the trees in their attacks here. That's dangerous. Okay, so let's talk about how we defend against this. This is where we talk about the concepts of breach and attack simulation, adversary exposure validation, and continuous red teaming. For those of you who will or have listened to our episode on different acronyms, it's BAS, AEV, and CART. But let's not dive into the details there. Go listen to our episode. Adrian, how does a BAS platform help an organization test its defenses against Dragonfly?
So BAS is a game changer here. Traditional security tools like vulnerability scanners tell you what you might be vulnerable to, but BAS actively simulates an attack. Our BAS platform has incredible detail on Dragonfly's tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs, and executes this in a safe way. For instance, we can simulate their initial access methods like spear phishing or the exploitation of public-facing exploitations. Our BAS platform can also test if a company's perimeter defenses would detect or block and attempt to exploit something like the Cisco SMI vulnerability CVE 2018-0171 mentioned in the alert.
And it's not just about getting in, right? It's what happens once they are in your systems.
Exactly. Dragonfly is all about persistence and lateral movement once they're inside the network. The Safe Breach Exposure Validation platform can validate if an organization is susceptible to their internal techniques, such as using stolen credentials to move from an enterprise network to a more sensitive ICS network. It can simulate the use of remote desktop protocol RDP or the creation of web shells to test if the organization's internal firewalls and segmentation are properly configured to prevent this type of lateral movement. It's a continuous automated red team that gives you immediate feedback on your security posture against a real world threat.
So you also mentioned continuous automated red teaming here as a concept, not to mention we tied back a little bit to our old friend Adversary Exposure Validation. How do these tie into what we're talking about today?
So that they're essentially variations of a breach and attack simulation mindset. Adversary exposure validation is about proactively identifying and quantifying an organization's exposure to specific known adversaries like Dragonfly. It's not just do we have a vulnerability, but are we vulnerable to the specific TTPs that this group is known to use? By aligning your security testing with the FBI's alert and the known TTPs of Dragonfly, you're not just improving your overall security, you're directly reducing your risk to this specific threat.
So it's about being proactive, not reactive, and also making your defenses intelligence led.
Precisely. And continuous red teaming is the security operations SecOps deployment of that. It's the idea that security isn't a one time thing. Dragonfly is patient and persistent. They're good at their job. We just need to be better and reverse the adversary advantage. They'll constantly look for a new way in. So you need to continuously test your devices. CART uses the same principles as BAS, simulating TTPs, but it does it on an ongoing basis. This ensures that an organization's network changes, are logged and tracked, or as the threat actors TPPs have equally evolved, your security posture remains resilient. It moves you from a reactive, if we get hit, how do we respond model to a proactive, how do we prevent this from ever happening model.
Hmm. That's a powerful shift. So to wrap this up, what is the key message we want our listeners to take away today?
So the enduring threat from Dragonfly isn't a historical footnote. It continues to present a clear and present danger, a current and persistent risk that demands continuous vigilance. The FBI alert is an actionable piece of intelligence. By using solutions like BAS, AEV, and CART, organizations can move from a reactive perimeter-focused defense to a proactive, intelligence-led security posture that prioritizes vulnerability management, strong authentication, and deep network segmentation. It's about thinking like the adversary and consistently testing to make sure your defenses hold up.
Well said as always, Adrian. Thank you so much for this insightful analysis.
My pleasure, Tova.
Thanks again, and thank you all for listening. Until next time, stay safe with SafeReach, and join us for our next episode of the Cyber Resilience Brief. The Cyber Resilience Brief is a SafeReach podcast. It's produced by Tova Devorin and executive produced by Adrian Cully. Sound design provided by Adobe Podcasts. Distribution provided by Podbean, and extra support and love from the SafeReach team. For more information on how adversarial exposure validation through SafeBreach can protect you and your business, no matter where you reside or what industry you're in, please visit us at www.safebreach.com.